a broader perspective on climate change, what it really means for our cities and our future. When people talk about climate change, the conversation often focuses on a few familiar ideas: rising temperatures, melting ice caps, more extreme weather. But there's a deeper perspective that rarely gets the attention it deserves, one that goes beyond graphs and predictions. It's about understanding how even small shifts in climate disrupt the historical stability our civilizations were built upon. Let's start with the basics. All the evidence from various scientific disciplines, meteorology, oceanography, geology, and atmospheric physics, points to one clear conclusion. The climate of Earth has been significantly altered by human activity, particularly since the dawn of the Industrial Revolution. You've probably heard of the greenhouse effect, but it's worth summarizing again just to clarify the foundation of what's happening. The greenhouse effect works like this: visible light from the sun reaches Earth's surface, where it is absorbed and then re radiated as infrared light, heat. But this infrared radiation doesn't just shoot back into space. Instead, it gets partially trapped by certain gases in the atmosphere, raising Earth's surface temperature. These gases, known as greenhouse gases, include carbon dioxide, methane, and importantly, water vapor. Water vapor is a powerful greenhouse gas. That's that's why humid regions don't cool down as much at night compared to dry deserts. In dry climates like deserts, temperatures can swing wildly, dropping 30 to 40 degrees Fahrenheit between day and night because there's little water vapor to trap heat after the sun sets. The warmer the planet becomes, the more water vapor the atmosphere can hold. Just like in chemistry, where a warmer solution can dissolve more solute, a warmer atmosphere can hold more moisture, amplifying the greenhouse effect in a feedback loop. Now, some people look at the projected temperature rise, 1, 2, maybe 3 degrees Celsius, and shrug. What's a couple of degrees, they say. But this perspective misses the larger issue. It's not just about how hot it gets on average, it's about how even small shifts in climate ripple through every part of our built environment, especially our cities. To explain why that matters, let's go back in time. When the last ice age ended around 12,000 years ago, Earth began to warm, naturally and very gradually. This warming made it possible for early humans to settle in one place, rather than live as nomads, constantly chasing favorable weather and food sources. They started to cultivate crops, manage water, store food, and critically, build permanent settlements. And where did they build those cities? Almost always near water, by rivers, lakes, and coastlines. Why? Because water supports agriculture, enables transportation, and facilitates trade. So the great cities of the world, London, New York, Shanghai, Mumbai, Cairo, emerged on coastlines or along rivers, grounded in the assumption of a relatively stable climate. But here's the key idea: climate stability doesn't mean the weather never changes. It means that the range of weather, temperature highs and lows, rainfall levels, snowfall, droughts, generally stays within predictable bounds. Over decades and centuries, people learn these bounds, record them, and build infrastructure accordingly. Cities adapt to that normal. For example, if a city historically receives a certain amount of snowfall, it stores salt and maintains snowplows. If it occasionally experiences drought, it builds reservoirs or irrigation systems. If it's prone to heat waves, it develops air conditioning infrastructure. Texas, for instance, saw a significant population boom only after air conditioning became widely available. In this way, every city is essentially designed around the historical range of weather it expects to face. The roads, bridges, tunnels, buildings, drainage systems, and public services are all built on the assumption that the future will resemble the past. But climate change breaks that assumption. Once we alter the climate, even by a few degrees, we begin to push cities outside the range of conditions they were built to endure. You may not notice it immediately, but the cumulative effect is profound. Suddenly, the worst case scenario in the historical record becomes the new average. Or, worse, it gets surpassed entirely. Take New York City, for instance. When Hurricane Sandy hit in 2012, it wasn't technically a hurricane by the time it made landfall in the city, but the storm surge it brought caused flooding levels higher than any previously recorded in the city's history. Waters rushed into subway tunnels and overflowed the seawalls. It took days to pump out the water and restore basic functionality. In response, New York began to rethink its infrastructure. Engineers installed massive floodgates at tunnel entrances, something that had never been considered necessary before. That's what adapting to a new climate reality looks like. The same pattern is playing out across the world. Cities everywhere are being forced to confront conditions no one alive has ever seen. In some cases, no one in the history of those cities has ever seen it. Take the United Kingdom, for example. Its climate has historically been cool and rainy, but now parts of England are experiencing conditions warm enough to grow grapes for sparkling wine, something that used to be exclusive to regions like France. That's great for vineyards, perhaps, but it also reflects a fundamental shift in the country's climate. During a recent heat wave, temperatures rose so high that the tarmac at one airport began to melt, making it unsafe for airplanes to land. And then there's the reverse, cold waves pushing farther south than ever. A few winters ago, Arctic air from Canada descended deep into the United States, breaking snowfall records in places like Mississippi, Alabama, and Louisiana, regions completely unprepared for that kind of weather. But it's not just about inconvenience or adaptation. For some communities, climate change is an existential threat. Island nations in the Pacific, places where the average elevation is barely above sea level, are watching their homelands disappear. As the Antarctic and Greenland ice sheets melt, sea levels rise inch by inch until entire countries face permanent submersion. These people are not just victims of bad weather, they are becoming climate refugees. Their culture, history, and sovereignty are literally being swallowed by the sea. And the military is paying attention. Rising seas and displaced populations aren't just environmental issues, they're geopolitical ones. Resource conflicts, mass migration, and economic instability are all potential consequences of a changing climate. So, what does this all mean? It means the normal we've relied on for thousands of years is shifting beneath our feet. Climate change is not just about polar bears and glaciers. It's about how cities work, how we live, where we grow food, how we get clean water, and whether our infrastructure can handle the storms of tomorrow. As we move forward, we must broaden our expectations. We must stop assuming the future will be like the past and start planning for extremes that fall outside our lived experience. That might mean reinforcing buildings against both heat waves and floods, upgrading drainage systems, redesigning transportation infrastructure, and rethinking how and where we grow crops. In short, we must get ready for a new normal. And in most places on Earth, that new normal won't be pretty.